Such a nice color on you.
Yes, I know. It's the color of your eyes, sweetie. That's why we match so well.
We're about to do a podcast.
Taylor Swift announces her next era, The Life of a Showgirl. Taylor Swift's next album will be called The Life of a Showgirl, according to an early morning surprise reveal. Swifties have been eagerly awaiting news of her next move since her record-breaking 21-month Eras tour wrapped up in December. But the anticipation and online speculation spiked on Monday, after the star released a series of cryptic social media posts. First, an official Instagram account run by Swift's team posted a carousel of 12 photos of various moments and outfits from her tour. Each of Swift's albums or eras is associated with a specific color, and in each photo of the slideshow she's wearing orange. Thinking about when she said "see you next era," the caption read, sending fans into a frenzy. Around the same time, the New Heights podcast, which is hosted by Swift's boyfriend, Kansas City Chiefs tight end Travis Kelce, and his brother, retired fellow footballer Jason Kelce, teased Wednesday's upcoming episode, writing on Instagram that it will have a very special guest. The accompanying graphic shows them sitting on either side of a suspiciously Swift-shaped silhouette against a sparkly orange background. And then, on Monday night, Swift's official website quietly put up a shimmering orange countdown clock set to expire at 12:12 a.m. on Tuesday. Swift has become known for carefully inserting Easter eggs and hidden messages, including numerical patterns, into everything from her lyrics to liner notes to fashion choices. And so far, she's released 11 studio albums, so the dozen-centric deadline further fueled fans' hopes and wildest dreams of a new album. Either the announcement of an upcoming release or the record itself, as was the case with 2020's Folklore and Evermore, and the surprise album The Tortured Poets Department last April. Just after midnight on Tuesday morning, Swift made it official in a clip posted by New Heights. "So I wanted to show you something," she tells the Kelce brothers, opening up a case with her initials emblazoned in orange and pulling out a record with the cover blurred out. "This is my brand new album, The Life of a Showgirl." The album's cover art, track list, and even release date are still a mystery, leaving fans even hungrier for what they hope will be more details in the New Heights episode to be released on Wednesday evening. In the meantime, the Life of a Showgirl vinyl, cassette, CD, and poster are available for pre-sale on Swift's website. It says they will ship before October 13, but cautions, this is not the release date. The Life of a Showgirl will be Swift's first new album since she bought back the rights to her master recordings in May from Shamrock Capital. The private equity group acquired them from music executive Scooter Braun, who bought them in 2019 when he acquired Swift's first music label, Big Machine Label Group. That sparked her years-long quest to re-record her first 6 albums, releasing them as Taylor's version alongside previously unreleased vault tracks. In Swift's announcement about acquiring her masters, she said the last 2 albums she had planned to re-release, Reputation and her self-titled debut, can still have their moments to re-emerge when the time is right. How big is Taylor Swift? You might have heard, Taylor Swift cannot be stopped. Her new album, The Tortured Poets Department, sold 6 million copies in its opening week last month, earning Swift her 8th Billboard No. 1 album since 2020. At the Grammy Awards in February, she became the first artist to win Album of the Year for a 4th time, breaking a tie with Frank Sinatra, Stevie Wonder, and Paul Simon. And earlier this month, Swift's Eras Tour, the 152-date, billion-dollar stadium takeover that began last year, resumed abroad before it returns to the U.S. in October. In 2023, according to the data tracking service Luminate, 1 in every 78 songs streamed in the U.S. was by Swift. with a mix of prolific artistic output and relentless business savvy, plus cultural dominance as a celebrity. Swift, 34, has created such a swell of momentum that she's probably more popular more omnipresent 19 years into her professional music career than she ever has been. That is not normal. But just how big is Taylor Swift? In terms of the all-time pop pantheon, the singer's ongoing surge has inspired inevitable debates about how her success stacks up not only against her pop peers, like Beyoncé and Drake, but to the greats that came before them. Even Billy Joel said he could only compare this Swift moment to Beatlemania. It may be impossible to do an exact one-to-one comparison between Swift's career and that of the Beatles or Madonna, Michael Jackson, Britney Spears, Bruce Springsteen, Elton John, or your icon of choice. Besides music being personal and subjective, the nature of success and how it is calculated has changed drastically over time. Much of a star's grip on the zeitgeist is also intangible, a vibe in the air. Their influence moving subtly but undeniably through culture. But the absence of a truly scientific comparison has never stopped the amusement that comes from the eternal sports and pop culture debates of our time. Jordan versus LeBron or Kareem or Kobe. Brady versus Montana or Marino or Mams. Star Wars versus Star Trek or Harry Potter or the Marvel Universe. Even without definitive conclusions, it's impossible for certain loyalists, haters, and obsessives not to wonder how giants match up using whatever evidence might be available. So with Swift's career still peaking late into its second decade, we ran the numbers and analyzed the data, taking stock of what she has accomplished so far and went alongside some of the heaviest hitters in each category. A detail of the same page, showing the Beatles in the top 5 spots. When it comes to Billboard No. 1 singles, they set the benchmark. From the early 1960s, when pop music usually came in the form of two-sided vinyl singles, until the Fab Four broke up in 1970. The band released 64 songs that landed on Billboard's all-genre chart, known as the Hot 100. In that time, the Beatles helped to usher in the rock and roll revolution and the album age by releasing more than a dozen LPs. But many of the records they set for hit singles still stand today. 2-bar charts, 1 for the Beatles, 1 for Taylor Swift. They show how many Billboard Top 10 hits each act earned over the course of their respective careers. Bobblehead images of the Beatles and of Taylor Swift appear at first above each chart. Let's look at how Swift's top 10 hits compare to the Beatles over the course of their careers, starting with the year each of them released their first original single in the U.S. The Beatles' timeline spans from 1963 through 1970, with 11 hits in 64 and a decline down to just 2 in 1970. Taylor's timeline spans from 2006 to 2024. First showing 2 hits in 2008 and a more gradual incline to 10 hits in 2022, 9 in 2023, and 10 in 2024. What is incredible to remember is that almost all of the Beatles' success and their entire artistic output happened very quickly. The first 8 years of the charts are highlighted. Of the band's 35 total top 10 hits, 32 of them arrived in just 8 years. 3 more top 10s came after the band split. The Beatles came in hot. Then they were gonna risk for groups. With their various egos and complications, that Swift will never have to face. The highlight is removed. Her career, on the other hand, has been a much slower burn, as she grew from country music ingenue to full-bore pop star. Swift's first top 10 song change didn't hit until around her second album, Fearless, in 2008. When we focus on No. 1 South, the Beatles really dominate, with more chart toppers than any other artist. a record they've held since 1965. Of the top 10s, number ones are now highlighted in orange. The Beatles show 20 number one hits throughout their entire short career, while Swift shows 12 number ones in mid and late career, despite having many more top hits overall. Out of the Beatles' 20 No. 1 South, the majority also came quickly, with 11 songs, including I Want to Hold Your Hand, Love Me Do and Yesterday, topping the chart in 1964 and 1965, their earliest years as a fresh-faced phenomenon. The first 3 years of both charts are highlighted, showing lots of top hits and number ones for Beatles and just 2 top 10s for Swift. Swift's first chart topper, We Are Never Ever Getting Back Together, in 2012, needed a more dramatic twist. 7 years into her career, she left behind her Nashville sound and collaborated with the pop guru Max Martin, who trails only John Lennon and Paul McCartney with 25 career No. 1 South as a songwriter. The bulk of Swift's singles' success has come even later, with 7 of her 12 total No. 1 South, including Fortnight, Cruel Summer and All Too Well Taylor's version, arriving in the last 5 years, as her career entered its teens. The last 5 years of both charts are highlighted. The Beatles have had no activity for many years at this point, while Taylor Swift shows a clear peak in popularity via top hits. By that point in their musical lives, the individual Beatles were well into their various solo endeavors, with McCartney experimenting with new wave and George Harrison writing songs about race cars. But as with any comparison across eras, there must be footnotes and asterisks. When we look at top 10s from the 1960s, we're only counting an artist's actual singles, songs released for purchase outside of a full album. After 1998, the rules began changing to include any song on the radio, regardless of how it was released, and eventually counting digital downloads and streams. By today's rules, the Beatles would have even more hits than Billboard's official count. Swift, whose new album features 31 songs, each of which hit the Hot 100, has dominated with these new metrics in 2022. She became the first artist to occupy the entire top 10 on the Hot 100 at once following the release of Midnights. She repeated and expanded upon that feat last month with songs from the Tortured Poets Department, which filled the top 14 spots on the singles chart. The length of Swift's career has allowed her into the Beatles' vaunted ballpark by giving her the chance to evolve her sound, grow her loyal audience, and take full advantage of technological advances. Yet, as wild as it is for the Beatles to have accomplished so much in so little time, Swift's longevity might be considered equally impressive in pop music, which often overvalues the new and especially among female artists the young. Like the Beatles, Jackson reached heights pop had never seen, changing the very nature of stardom, for better and worse, by kicking off the MTV video age and ruling popular culture amid tabloid mayhem. And like the Beatles, Jackson's career was relatively long, from his time as a child star in the Jackson 5 until his death in 2009 at 50. A grid of 10 Michael Jackson albums covers transitions into charts depicting Michael Jackson's and Taylor Swift's album sales. But the meat of Jackson's solo career lasted from 1970 to through 2001, during which he put out 10 albums and followed a fairly typical arc for a pop career. Jackson's Off the Wall album is brought to focus. Jackson stands against a brick wall wearing a tuxedo. He has a wide smile. The release of starter albums like Got to Be There and then in the early 1970s. Then a big breakthrough Off the Wall in 1979 and a peak, before Jackson slowed down somewhat, at least commercially. That peak just happened to be Thriller, arguably the peak of all pop peaks, which came out in 1982, when Jackson was 24. Jackson's Thriller album is highlighted. Jackson wears a white suit and is lounging on the floor, looking relaxed. 4 albums. Going platinum or selling 1 million copies is the go-to stat. Let's look at Jackson's platinum albums versus Swift's. Starting with the beginning of their careers as solo artists, 2 charts are side by side, indicated by bobblehead images of Jackson and Swift. The charts show platinum certifications for both. Sequential by album. There is one bar for Michael Jackson that towers higher than any other on either chart. In the 4+ decades since Thriller was released, it has been certified 34 times platinum by the Recording Industry Association of America, making it one of the most successful albums of all time. The towering bar, representing the platinum certifications for Thriller, is highlighted in orange. Swift's biggest albums so far are Fearless, which is officially 10 times platinum, and 1989, at 9 times platinum. Swift's second and fifth bars are highlighted Fearless and 1989, respectively. However, Swift's platinum certifications are not totally up to date and do not yet count the sales of her redone Taylor's version releases, which have not been officially tallied by the It's also worth noting that an album sale now means something different. A set amount of song streams or downloads is considered the equivalent of 1 album sold. Using the more recent sales data available for Swift's albums, which can help us estimate where her certifications will be when they're updated. While Jackson's chart remains the same, Swift's chart has a subtle transition. It now shows album sales figures rather than platinum certifications. Chart bars extend higher, showing a higher level of success for all of Swift's albums. She starts to approach and even pass Jackson's monster platinum totals, giving us a better idea of how Swift will stack up to Jackson long term. Remember, Swift's albums have about 30 years less of collective sales when compared to Thriller, and they're still being actively promoted. Swift's 1989 also released when she was 24 may be the closest thing she has to Jackson's biggest blockbuster. Swift's 5th album, 1989, is highlighted in orange. It does not quite hit the line indicating 15 million sales, and she's been strategic enough to release it twice, elongating what could be considered her career peak by stretching it across 2 distinct eras nearly a decade apart. 1989 Taylor's version is highlighted orange, reaching around 3 to 4 million in sales, giving new fans a fresh entry point. Already, Swift has released more solo albums than Jackson ever did, and with her productivity including those to different versions of 4 of her albums, so far she can approach the king of pop. In all, Jackson's 10 solo albums have been certified 72 times platinum. Swift's 11 original albums have been certified 50 times platinum, but her album sales tell us that number, including Taylor's versions, is likely to be closer to 90, and she is very much still going, with the Tortured Poets department already topping 3 million in about a month. Swift's extended peak becomes even more of a standout when compared to a more typical pop trajectory, even one with towering highs. Like Swift, Britney Spears released her debut single at age 16 and came to absolutely dominate the cultural conversation, sometimes in ways that discounted her music in favor of her love life. Commercially huge in its moment, Spears' music career was also relatively short-lived, which tends to be the case more often than not, especially for singers who are known as performers and celebrities more than quote-unquote serious artists. Swift, unlike Spears, has been firm in branding herself as a songwriter from the beginning, helping stave off some sexist criticism of her music as frivolous. 2 side-by-side charts depict album sales for Britney Spears and Taylor Swift. Bobblehead images of each pop star appear at first above each respective chart. for reasons that became more complicated as time went on. Spears' career sloped downward commercially basically from the moment it began. If you're looking at album sales, each studio album is represented by one bar on the respective artist's chart. Spears' chart is notably shorter, with only 9 albums, while Swift's chart shows 15 albums released. Spears' chart shows a steep decline after her first album, which surpasses 10 million sales. Baby One More Time, Spears' 1999 debut, sold impressively. It's certified platinum more times than, say, Abbey Road. Spears' first album, Baby One More Time, is highlighted in orange, but it's not quite 1989 even in raw numbers. Leaving aside any questions of authorship, artistic merit, and staying power, Swift's 5th album, 1989, is highlighted in orange. It does not quite hit the line representing 15 million in sales. The diminishing returns of Spears' subsequent releases represent a sadly common path for the kind of pop singers that audiences can treat as disposable, with a new model always on the horizon. Madonna's ability to reinvent to persist as a woman in pop is the reason we talk about artist eras to begin with. Another path-breaking solo pop singer with a huge peak, a long run of domination, a savvy command of marketing, and unexpected longevity. Madonna has had a career that is 43 years long and counting. From her breakthrough second album, Like a Virgin, released in 1984, when she was 26, through Bedtime Stories in 1994, Madonna was inescapable, pushing the boundaries of visual and sonic reinvention that are now considered prerequisites for top acts. Two charts show Billboard top hits for Madonna and Swift over the course of their respective careers. The charts are first indicated by bobblehead images of each pop star. Let's look at Madonna's top 10 Billboard hits compared to Swift's, which shows how consistent both artists have been over extended periods of time, but also when in their careers each was most in the mix. Both Madonna and Swift have many top hits. Madonna's peak, however, comes early, hovering around for top hits towards the beginning of her career. She shows a decline, her timeline ending in 2012 with just a few lone hits every few years. Swift's chart, on the other hand, is comparable to Madonna's in her early career but shows a sharp increase in top hits in her late career, reaching 10 top hits in 2022, 9 in 2023, and 10 in 2024. Madonna scored no 1 hits across 3 decades, beginning with the title track from Like a Virgin in 1984. No 1 South are highlighted in orange on both charts. Both show 12 no 1 South total, but Madonna's fall in the early mid-career range while Swift's fall predominantly in mid-late career range. In her first 10 years dominating the charts, Madonna had 10 no 1 South, ruling radio, MTV, and nightclubs. She also appeared in blockbuster movies like Dick Tracy and Evita, expanding her cultural omnipresence. Career years 3 through 12 are highlighted on both charts. Madonna's peak was fueled in part by the kind of polarizing, shock value controversy think Like a Virgin, Like a Prayer, or The Sex Book from 1990 to that Swift has studiously avoided. Although she, too, has had her share of extra musical headlines, like the Kanye West v. S moment in 2009. But it was Madonna's multifaceted fame as a triple threat that helped lead to many of her no 1 hits, including Vogue from I'm Breathless, the Dick Tracy soundtrack album, and a cutout image of Madonna appears over her chart. She is wearing a microphone headset and is flexing both arms powerfully. Attention is drawn to her no 1 Vogue, shown on the chart in 1990. This used to be my playground, the theme from A League of Their Own. A new image of Madonna replaces the last one. Now she's smiling. In pigtails. An arrow draws attention to "This used to be my playground." Depicted on the chart in 1992. Swift has also dipped a toe into Hollywood, although her roles in Valentine's Day, Cats, and David O. Russell's Amsterdam are less fondly remembered and have resulted in no hit songs. A cutout image of Swift appears now. 2. In costume for the movie Cats, with cat ears, whiskers, and all. The most recent of Madonna's 12 No. 1 hits music. From 2000 came 19 years into her career, where Swift is now at the age of 42. Taylor Swift's image is faded out. Madonna's image is replaced with one from the early LOs. Attention is drawn to her #1 song music. Madonna's 8-year comeback period. From Ray of Light in 1998 to Confessions on a Dance Floor in 2005. Resulted in 6 top 10 hits. She has 38 overall, with none since 2012, compared to Swift's 59 so far. Years 1998 to 2005 for Madonna are highlighted. The corresponding career years for Swift are also highlighted, beginning with 2022 and ending with an unlabeled future year. Alongside a pop survivor like Madonna, now 65, acts like Elton John, 77, and Bruce Springsteen, 74, are an interesting comparison point for Swift because of their productivity, longevity, and critical acclaim, all of which has paid off on the road. See also Bob Dylan and the Rolling Stones, who are not included here, but would be interesting points of comparison using slightly different metrics. While Madonna has slipped on the charts, none of her most recent 4 albums has gone platinum. She remains a major live draw. A standard give and take for a top-tier legacy act. John and Springsteen, both veterans about 50 years into their careers, also had periods of commercial dominance beginning in the 1970s, with albums like Goodbye Yellow Brick Road released when John was 26. That pop star sweet spot, and Born to Run from when Springsteen was 25. But as they settled into pop star middle age, plateauing commercially, they too have persisted with uber successful, long-running tour fueled by fan allegiance and critical acclaim. A table shows gross revenues for the top tour of each artist. It begins with approximate total gross figures, then transitions into approximate gross per show in the respective tour. Let's look at the total grosses for the best-selling tour by John and Springsteen, which put them in the company of more commercially dominant artists like Swift, Madonna, and Jackson. Approximate total gross for each top tour is as follows. Taylor Swift's Eras Tour through mid-Nov 2023 is $1.4 billion. Elton John's Farewell Yellow Brick Road Tour 2018-2023 is $939 million. Madonna's Sticky and Sweet Tour 2008-2009 is $585 million. Bruce Springsteen and the E Street Band Tour 2023 is $379 million. Michael Jackson's History World Tour 19967 is $310 million. Drake's It's All a Blur Tour through mid-November 2023 is $185 million. All figures are in 2023 to $24. John's Farewell Yellow Brick Road Tour, a late career greatest hits show named for his biggest album, made nearly $1 billion in part because it lasted for 6 years and more than 300 dates. Madonna's best-selling tour was Sticky and Sweet from 2008 and 2009. Like Swift's Eras Tour, Madonna's recent Celebration Tour highlighted all the periods of her 4-decade career, although it was less profitable and played arenas rather than stadiums. If you look at how much these major tours made per show, the list changes. The table changes to now show approximate gross per show. Values are as follows for the same tour names as listed prior. Taylor Swift, $17, $3 million. Beyonce, $10. 4 million. Madonna, $6. 9 million. Bruce Springsteen, $5. 7 million. Drake, $4. 3 million. Michael Jackson, $3. 7 million. Elton John, $2. 9 million. All figures are in 2023 to $24. This is where Swift shines, taking in more than $17 million per concert. By the time it's over, the Eras tour could bring in over $2 billion in ticket sales. One notable aspect of Swift's career so far is that it seems to bridge the gap between two kinds of artists, both of which can become legacy acts with strong enough catalogs and fan bases, the sustained, hit-making entertainers who may be overlooked, at least at first, as musicians, and the serious singer-songwriters who tend to be more critically lauded. The Grammy Awards, love them or hate them, are voted on by other musicians and provide a proxy stat for prestige and overall acclaim in the moment. A table shows total Grammy nominations by artist. It transitions to also show Grammy wins and top category wins. Let's look at Grammy nominations among the crop of top artists we're considering. Grammy nomination values are as follows: Beyonce, 88. Drake, 55. Taylor Swift, 52. Bruce Springsteen, 51. Michael Jackson, 35. Elton John, 35. Beatles, 23. Madonna, 28. Britney Spears, 8. While Swift has already outpaced Jackson and Springsteen, it's Beyonce, another artist who has changed the way we talk about pop stars, who has the most nominations ever. Looking at Grammy wins. Grammy wins values are as follows: Beyonce, 32. Bruce Springsteen, 20. Taylor Swift, 14. Michael Jackson, 13. Beatles, 7. Drake, 5. Elton John, 5. Britney Spears, 1. We see artists like John and Drake, another modern juggernaut, drop on this list, having converted fewer of their nominations to victories compared with, say, Jackson and Springsteen. Springsteen has won 20 Grammys across the decades, from his first for Dancing in the Dark in 1985 to his most recent, in 2010, for Working on a Dream. Beyonce is the winningest musician ever at the Grammys, where she has been awarded 32 times, topping the conductor Georg Solti, 31, and the producer Quincy Jones, 28, who was behind Jackson's Thriller. Yet Beyonce has still never taken Album of the Year, where Swift has 4 trophies and has won only once in the top categories, which include Record, Song and Album of the Year, plus Best New Artist. Grammy top category wins values are as follows: Taylor Swift, 4. Michael Jackson, 3. Beatles, 2. Beyonce, 1. Bruce Springsteen, 1. Madonna, 0. Elton John, 0. Drake, 0. Britney Spears, 0. It's been more than a decade since Beyonce earned a top-tier Grammy. When Single Ladies Put a Ring on It was awarded Song of the Year. Madonna didn't win her first Grammy until 1992 for Best Music Video, and only has scattered victories since, indicating she may have been viewed by her industry peers as more of a commercial force than a musician's musician. It is worth pointing out that the Beatles won just 4 Grammys while active, including 2 in the Big Four categories, out of 20 nominations, demonstrating how hard it is to quantify musical quality and how esteem tends to shift over time. 3 more nominations and wins came after they broke up. The band took the top prize just once for SGT, Pepper's Lonely Hearts Club Band, the first rock album to win, in 1968, in part because the Grammys, until the late 1960s, were quite conservative, often recognizing old school, traditional pop acts like Judy Garland and Barbra Streisand, Help, and Revolver both lost to Sinatra. Looking at stats like that, you could argue that the most popular musicians are taken more seriously as artists now than ever before, in no small part because of acts like the Beatles, Jackson, and Madonna. While Swift's overall pound-for-pound standing in each of the categories we've looked at puts her in rare historical company, it is notable that two of her most immediate contemporaries, Beyoncé, 42, and Drake, 37, are also legitimate challengers across the board. All three artists have maneuvered the industry transition between CDs, downloads, and streaming to become defining modern superstars, while also maximizing those intangibles like cultural reach and celebrity domination. Beyoncé, now 23 years into a solo career after her time with the group Destiny's Child, stands with Swift when it comes to versatility and longevity, plus sustained commercial dominance. Two side-by-side charts depict album sales for Beyoncé and Taylor Swift, respectively. Bobblehead images of each star appear at first above each chart. Let's look at their album sales as solo artists side by side. Each studio album is represented by one bar on the chart. Beyoncé's chart is notably shorter, with only 8 albums, while Swift's chart shows 15 albums released. Beyoncé's highest-selling album is just under 10 million in sales, while Swift's highest-selling album is around 14 million in sales. Beyoncé's commercial peak so far came with I Am Sasha Fierce, released in 2008, when she was 27. That album has sold more than 9 million copies. Beyoncé's third album, I Am Sasha Fierce, is highlighted in orange. It is the highest-selling album since then. While selling fewer records, she has focused on different pillars of legacy, pioneering the visual album format Beyoncé, Lemonade, experimenting with genre renaissance, Cowboy Carter, and pushing the limits of an extravagant live spectacle Coachella, the Renaissance World Tour. The bars representing Beyoncé's last 5 albums are highlighted in orange. Both Beyoncé and Swift have had big selling No.1 albums this year, during fresh periods of productivity. Both Beyoncé's and Swift's most recent albums are highlighted in orange. Swift's album, The Tortured Poets Department, shows about 3 times as many sales as Beyoncé's album, Cowboy Carter. Both are under 4 million in sales. Like Madonna and Swift, Beyoncé has continued to stretch the limits of what a woman's pop career can hold, landing to chart-topping singles in her 40s with Break My Soul in 2022, and again earlier this year with the country-influenced Texas Hold'em. She has also performed twice at the Super Bowl, something Swift has yet to do, a stage where acts like Madonna, Jackson, and Springsteen have solidified their unquantifiable grasp on culture. And then there is Drake, a relentless hitmaker. Like Swift, Drake has optimized his output to take advantage of the way streaming has reshaped the industry and its accolades to set new records, including 328 total entries on the Hot 100. Swift, with 232, is the only other artist with at least 200. 2 bar charts, 1 for Drake, 1 for Taylor Swift. They show how many Billboard Top 10 hits each artist earned over the course of their respective careers. Bobblehead images of Drake and Swift appear at first above each chart. Drake has 78 top 10 hits so far in his career. Both charts show a considerable number of hits. Drake's timeline spans from 2007 to 2024, while Swift spans almost identically at 2006 to 2024. Both show growth over the course of their careers, though Drake shows higher peak numbers and moderately earlier career success, and 13 No.1 South stemming from a variety of projects, official albums, less official mixtapes, streaming-only playlists, one-off singles, collaborative albums, and more. No. 1 South are highlighted in orange. Drake has 13 No. 1 South, while Swift has 12. As a rapper and frequent guest artist, Drake, unlike Swift, has appeared on many hits by others. Songs in which Drake was a featured artist are indicated. Among Drake's top hits, he is a featured artist in 20 of them, including 3 number ones, like his first No. 1 on Rihanna's What's My Name in 2010, accounting for a wide reach beyond his own releases. Yet somehow Drake and Swift have never released a song together, despite sharing a certain canniness and expressing mutual appreciation for one another. Even in his recent battle with Kendrick Lamar, Drake made clear that he sees Swift as his only real contemporary competition. He has also rapped about having more slaps than the Beatles and frequently invokes Jackson's success as a touchstone. Drake, Beyoncé, and Swift all have this modern characteristic in common. They're each actively playing for legacy. One eye on history and another on the record books. Ambitious and autonomous, they're proudly writing their resumes in real time, juicing Billboard numbers and even gunning for accolades. As a shrewd student of music and fame, Swift may know that she will never achieve the exact kind of domination that the Beatles, Jackson, and Madonna had at the height of global monoculture, when everyone might pay attention to the same thing. But she's certainly trying, taking bits and pieces from each's career and making sure to maximize her work and reach in all the ways that weren't available then. She cares how she's perceived and how she'd be remembered when the noise fades and all that's left are the songs and the stats. So far, it's working.